All right, well, gentlemen, you'd think that most of the big news would have come out of San Diego Comic-Con, but it appears that Star Wars and Warner Brothers didn't get that memo.
Nope. It is definitely an interesting day to be a fan of DC Comics.
Yeah, absolutely. And then add to that Star Wars releasing the full trailer for Andor and a change in the release date.
Yeah, that trailer was amazing, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dive into this along with a couple of major announcements for Podathon.
You good?
Podathon.
There you go.
Sorry, had a little stroke. 2022. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to that.
It's birthday weekend.
Yeah.
So technically, when people are listening to this, it's birthday over.
Yes.
But as we get ready to record, we're speaking into the future because it's birthday weekend.
Podcast recording's weird, man.
It is. Happy birthday, BB.
Happy birthday.
17 years old. You can finally go to Rated R movies.
Yeah.
Not like you haven't been going to Rated R movies.
This is bigger for him than like 21 or 18.
What was your first Rated R movie that we went to the theater for?
Theater?
Ooh.
Probably The Accountant.
I think it was The Accountant.
Yeah.
Which is a great movie.
Fantastic movie.
Anyway, well, we went to see Bullet Train. Maybe we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Well, welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed. I can't talk.
You
to
are having a tough
I'm just going
time
to take
today.
over.
And to be endorsed by the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. Big news coming for Ryan here in a couple minutes. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and all of the epic franchises that you love so much. I am David. I am the dad.
Hey, Dad.
Well, hello, gentlemen. I am honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons. Samuel the Hutt, what do you got going this week?
Yeah, Miss Marvel dropped a little bit of a bomb there at the end of that last episode.
Yeah, definitely. With that, we haven't had a chance to really talk about it.
No, we've been so busy with all
give
the
you
other
an
news.
opportunity to do that. BB Nate.
Yeah, DC is definitely going to be the company to watch over the next few months.
Oh, it's fun to watch right now.
It is. It always is.
It's been an interesting few days.
Dad, I think we all know what you're talking about.
And we're going to save it to the end because I feel like,
Best for last.
save the best for last because that trailer was
Great.
That was really good.
A really amazing trailer. But thank you so much for listening to the show. Please follow the show on whatever podcast app that you're listening on. And please remember, lock it up in your calendar right now. Go ahead and jump on over to YouTube and search for The Podathon and subscribe right away because Podathon 2022 is going to be the place to be. If you are a Star Wars fan, September 17th, it begins at 8 a.m. our time, 9 a.m. Eastern
there you go.
time. It's got to be your bowl. And this week was our first big guest announcement, our headliner guest.
Yes.
Yeah. Might as well just go big right off the beginning of this. Octu Radio, Alden Diaz. Alden about a year ago created a thread on Twitter, which was a defense of The Last Jedi, which was fantastic.
Yes.
I screenshotted it. I shared it on our post. It got 20 some thousand shares on our Facebook page because people were either loving it or hating it, but whatever it was awesome. With that, well, Alden reached out to a specific guest and thought, why not try to see if we can get him as a guest? So Alden Diaz secured as the guest of honor for Podathon 2022, the legend himself, Rian Johnson. And so the 65-minute
Holy crap.
one-on-one interview is an intimate conversation with Rian Johnson, who obviously did The Last Jedi. He's also done Knives Out, which was a fantastic movie. The upcoming sequel Glass Onion coming out this fall. It's a deep dive into Ryan's process as a writer and a director. He talks about the fan response to his Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, and then kind of insight into what being a part of the Star Wars universe means to him. So it's going to be fantastic. Alden, was quoted in the press release about it. He says, it truly does the heart good to have Rian Johnson joining the show for such an incredible cause. Ryan's work, particularly in Star Wars, has so much to do with the ideas of legacy and caring for the next generation. So I can think of nobody better to help us highlight the amazing work Make-A-Wish does for children everywhere. The goal is to raise $10,000 for Make-A-Wish. I have a feeling we're going to have that $10,000 raised, potentially even before, because the buzz about this, it's already getting buzz in the media about this. But why let Octu Radio take all the fun?
Have all the credit.
We got to make our own little announcement. With it. So I wish I had the audio. You know what? Let me just go ahead. You take it away.
Hi, this is Christopher Sean, Kaz from Star Wars Resistance. And I want to invite you to join me on Saturday, September 17th for Podathon 2022. I'll be hanging with my friends from Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. And I want to see you there. Podathon is a day-long charity podcasting event that raises money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The day is going to be filled with amazing shows, awesome guests, and lots of fun. Mark your calendars now and visit www.thepodathon.com for more information about the event and how you can donate directly to Make-A-Wish. Can't wait to see you there, and hey, may the Force be with you.
Holy.
That's crazy. I can't believe it.
It was such a fun event.
Holy Star Wars Resistance, Batman. I mean,
that works.
It was good effort.
It was an attempt. He's playing
Nightwing.
Nightwing. In
which Robin plays Nightwing? Is it Dick?
Yeah,
Dick Grayson. So he's playing that in Gotham Knights. So we are super excited to have Christopher Sean on the show.
That's so cool.
The conversation we had with him, which we've already recorded, is fantastic. So many different things happened in that we had no idea were going to happen on that.
So much fun.
Super excited.
Very exciting.
About that. And So why don't we stop talking about what we're going to talk about? Let's talk about what we're talking about.
There you go.
Are you ready to go for this, BB Nate?
I am.
All right, go for it.
My time. We can't not talk about the stuff going on with Warner Brothers in DC right now. But judging by what is going on, I'm very excited for the future of DC. So let me explain why.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
So, DC no longer has a website anymore.
What?
DCComics.com is not a thing anymore. It is strictly now just DC.com.
Really?
Changing it to an overall arching...
Like Marvel.com.
Like Marvel.com now.
Interesting.
Also, the new UI of the website is very nice. And Black Adam, strangely,
for those of us that don't have any idea what he's talking about,
interface.
Thank you very much. All right.
But Black Adam does have the top billing on the website right now.
Makes sense.
He should, because that's the next film coming out. So
it's
and
really
it's
well
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So
yeah,
you do. If he says I want top billing, you're like, yes, sir.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes,
all right,
Mr.
so we should probably get to the notes.
I'd love to take it away.
As good as Nathan is, I don't think he can do it all without it.
Sorry.
Let's talk about just briefly the situation going on right now with DC and WBD, which I found out is what it actually is now, Warner Brothers Discovery. It's not Warner Brothers anymore.
Their merger.
Well, Warner Brothers has been clearing house recently with the cancellation of many titles, including but not limited to.
BB Nate has a gift for understatement. Cleaning house. Anyway.
Including but not limited to Batgirl and the Scoob sequel. There's definitely been a lot more over.
And that's what we're going to talk about. Over the Scoob sequel.
Yeah. Over the Cartoon Network is even getting some stuff canceled, including HBO Max and Discovery Plus, and they're merging, and it's a lot going on right now. It's definitely been an interesting time to be a DC fan, or even just a movie fan, or pop culture in general. This is kind of a big deal right now. It's everything. I don't think we've seen a studio do this before. I haven't seen
since Disney bought Star Wars and said, "Hey, all the Legends stuff."
But it wasn't the bloodletting that we've seen in the last few weeks.
It's been crazy. So, Dad, let's get you to start. What do you think about this whole situation, including the cancellation of Batgirl and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started with that. That was the first big thing you saw was they canceled Batgirl. But this is, looking back, if you take a step back and you kind of look at what's happened since San Diego Comic-Con and even before that, it feels like they knew that this was coming and they were just like, let's just get through San Diego Comic-Con and then let's deal with the fallout of this. It is getting such mixed reactions through social media. First of all, for everybody involved in the production of Batgirl, for everybody involved in the production of Scoob and all of the other things, because there's multiple different projects that have been canceled and scrapped and everything else. I mean, my heart goes out to these people. They've invested time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears in its creativity and everything else. It would be, for us to relate, not that this is on the same level by any means, but it would be like we had recorded 10 episodes for Facebook back a couple of years ago, like recorded them all out and did all of the work that went into it, all of the investment that we put into it. And then Facebook said, never mind. And Facebook would have had every right as a business to do what they did. If they did that, to say, we've gone in a different direction, and that would be horrifying, right? That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
We would be devastated, with that. And so I feel bad for everybody involved. So, when it comes to that, but at the same time, if you take a step back and you think about what's been happening with Warner Brothers, specifically as it relates to the DC properties, it's a big mess. It's, you've got the Arrowverse, you've got the official DCEU, you've got the Snyderverse, you've got the Batman,
the
Reevesverse, you've got what happened with like the original Suicide Squad, and then the Suicide Squad, and it's just been a hot mess.
Yeah, very true.
And so, as much as I feel for everybody involved, I do not revel in any of this happening to any of the people involved and any of the properties projects being canceled. I think that the people at Discovery, when they took over Warner Brothers and they got in there and they saw the dumpster fire that was behind the scenes.
It's like that GIF or that meme of the dude walking in with the pizza and just like everything's on fire.
And that dude, it's Donald Glover. He's walking in and it's just like, I mean, that's what I think that they walked into, and they had no clue what they were getting into. And so I think that this is just finally, they probably spent the last 6 months sitting around in boardrooms trying to figure out how to fix this. And then about a couple months ago, somebody said, I don't think we can.
Yeah.
I think we just have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And we just have to cut the arm off to save the body.
Right.
And that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think that's what's having to happen. But that's the situation covered. Now let's talk about the future and what this means.
This is the exciting stuff.
Yeah, it means a ton for the future of DC. During an investor's call, David, I'm going to butcher this last name. I do not know. Zaslav. Okay, whatever.
I'm going to look it up, though. Just
the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery said this. He said, as we look at the opportunities that we have broadly, DC is at the top of the list for us. You look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. These are brands that are known everywhere in the world, and the ability to drive those all over the world with great stories is a big opportunity for us. We have done a reset. We've restructured the business where we're going to focus, and there'll be a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC. It's very similar to the structure that Alan Horn and Bob Iger put together very effectively with Kevin Feige at Disney. First question, does this excite y'all?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we've all three been saying for a while now that DC needed to do, is they needed to get a structured plan together with a cohesive story across all of their characters with a long-term goal in mind. You know, they made one Superman movie, and then they made a Batman v Superman movie, and then they made Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and then they threw it all into Justice League. Right, it was like super short.
Aquaman was after Justice League.
Okay, so I was on the fence about that, but yeah, I mean, even then, to even further to my point, they barely planned for a sort of Avengers level story. It just happened, right? And then you've got all the other stuff, like we were saying.
That's very common though in the comics for DC. The Justice League getting thrown together pretty early on is very common
in movie form. If you look
this happened in the DC animated universe. The second movie after Flashpoint Paradox was a Justice League team up movie, and it works.
Well, I'm thinking, look at the way Marvel does it.
I understand.
They have a good number of movies setting up individual characters, and then they bring them together for a story, right? And it's very effective, as he said in the quote. Marvel's got an effective strategy. So I think the fact that if DC does that from now on, where they think about it long term, right? They release lots of movies to where everything culminates into this big event type movie, like all the Avengers movies have been. That can be really beneficial for DC. And like they said, they have really great brands like Superman and Batman and all that. So if they capitalize on that, they could be really successful.
I think that we have to be careful that we don't necessarily have to have DC become the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No, I'm not saying that.
It doesn't even have to follow the same pattern or or formula of that. The key thing that needs to happen with DC is they need to have a plan. They need to know what they want to do with the characters, where they want to go. They need to have the thing that has made the MCU work, that has been a challenge within Star Wars and has been a complete train wreck within DC, is Marvel Cinematic Universe has Kevin Feige. They have somebody that is the ultimate decision maker, the one that steps in and says, this is where we are going, and makes the decisions, and the buck stops with Kevin Feige. Right. The challenge within the Star Wars universe is you had your films, and then you had everything else. Everything else seemed, from the impressions that we have as fans, for some of the behind the scenes conversations that we've had with certain people that have knowledge of the situation, for during the movie era of the Disney movie era of Star Wars. Not that sounded weird. Disney movie of Star Wars. No, that's not what I mean. It's not like Disney Channel.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but you know what I'm talking about. During the sequels and Solo and Rogue One, there was the movie side and then everything else. And everything else had a coherent story. They were trying to work together. You had story group guiding it. And then you had movies. And the struggle you saw with that was Solo, the turmoil within Solo with Lord Miller having to switch over to Ron Howard. You have even though Rogue One was, and I love Solo. Solo is a fantastic movie. If Nathan for his birthday weekend said, let's watch Solo, I'd be like, turn it on. Let's go, baby. Buckle up, baby. Right. Like Lando Calrissian says, but there was problems on that production. Rogue One is fantastic. One of the best Star Wars movies for sure of all time. There was turmoil within that when you have Gareth Edwards. He was going in one direction and then it didn't work, and they bring in Tony Gilroy and he ends up basically reshooting a third of the movie or more and changing everything with it. That's going on. You have J.J. Abrams going to Rian Johnson. We all know the story there. And then the trouble with Colin Trevorrow and the challenge with that, and then having to go back to J.J. and that suffered as a result. What I think the reason that they have stepped back and said no more films right now, we are putting a pause on films. We don't know when the next Star Wars movie is releasing. The speculation was 2023 in December, but that doesn't look good to me right now.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Of that.
There's no way.
They are stepping back and fixing that problem within Lucasfilm. It's not as dramatic as with DC. DC was a complete disaster.
It was.
And no coherence, no plan whatsoever. And what Discovery has done now that they have taken over leadership of Warner Brothers is said, we have to put this plan in place. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I mean, we can kind of move on to the speculation for the future and what we hope to see. Due to Batgirl being canceled, we're not sure what else is going to get canceled or not, but we can speculate what the DC future of DC will be like. Do you think we see any big things for DC in Black Adam or Shazam: Fury of the Gods? And if so, what could work to make DC get back their status?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough because both of those movies, while yes, they're in the DCEU, we think, or we were pretty sure that, I mean, Shazam for sure is.
And Black Adam most likely.
Yeah. But again, the fact that there's any sort of question is a part of the problem. You know, they need to, without a shadow of doubt, show us, look, these are a part of whatever series of movies they decide to go with, right? And I think if they can establish, hey, this is a part of the DCEU where these movies are what has happened previously, that's good. And one more thing that one or both of them needs to do is set up something larger in the future. Whether that's an overarching storyline where they introduce a big villain that might come up, or they tease a new character that could be huge. Again, I'm not knowledgeable enough in DC. Maybe they tease some sort of Green Lantern, right? Where they like bring in, redo Green Lantern. That would be huge. I think fans would love that. I'd be excited for something like that, you know? Something where they're able to tease a bigger next step in the story while also connecting these two movies to a previous larger story will help a lot.
It feels to me like they knew that this was, they obviously knew that this was coming before San Diego Comic-Con, before they released the Shazam: Fury of the Gods trailer. That trailer right there, when we watched it right after it was released, right? During Comic-Con, and we all watch it like together.
Like a minute after.
Yeah. We threw it up on the screen and started watching it, right? The thing that stood out to me from that was suddenly you had Ben Affleck's Batman. You had Jason Momoa's Aquaman. You had Ezra Miller's Flash in that story. We know that the Henry Cavill version of Superman has been tied to the story already. They reference Wonder Woman.
They do.
In that trailer with that. It felt like that's strange. To do that. Then you have the question that was presented to Dwayne Johnson at the panel about will Black Adam ever face off or versus go against Superman? What was the specific way he answered that?
I don't remember.
It depends on who's playing Superman.
Depends on who's playing him. Yeah.
I think that was basically it. That felt like a direct dig to Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah.
There was all the scuttlebutt going into San Diego Comic-Con that Henry Cavill was going to show up at Hall H. It's very possible he was going to show up at Hall H because they were working out a contract to try to get him back in to make that big announcement. The contract didn't come together. He couldn't come. They weren't going to announce him with that. All of that seems to be going forward. I don't think that you get the Snyderverse proper going forward. I don't think that's a good move.
No, not now.
Based on this. But I do think that you've basically wiped the whole thing out, take the best part of where we are in this story and rebuild with the same actors, the same basic characters.
The same actors.
Tying in. The hard part is going to be Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest challenge. And let's just be honest. The movie that should be getting canceled is The Flash.
Yeah.
You know, if you're dealing with like the one that deserves to be canceled, it's The Flash. But they've invested way too much of the money into it. They know the story. They know where it's going. That ain't going to get canceled. That sucks. For, you know, that because Ezra Miller is going down a path where he's
psycho.
Well, no, I don't want to use that in a negative term, but the guy needs help.
Something's wrong.
This is not a good move for DC, and it's going to be a disaster, I'm afraid, if he has to do press tours and stuff like that. But they're going to end up releasing that movie with it. What could we see? We could see if they get the contract with Henry Cavill, we could see a post-credit scene in Black Adam where he shows up. You could see some stuff in Shazam 2 that ties into the Flash or into some of these other things with it. The most logical transition would be Black Adam somehow tying into Shazam 2 and bringing in a new character, or bringing in one of the classic characters, and then Shazam 2 tying into Flash and making it the big, which is a very MCU thing to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With that, and then them resetting and doing this. This is also the week after San Diego Comic-Con. Suddenly Ben Affleck is on the set doing reshoots of Aquaman 2. So this is not something that just happened where they're like, the whole thing about Warner Brothers canceled Batgirl in order to take a tax write-off is so twisted and misrepresented. They're going to take the tax write-off, no doubt whatsoever. This is so much bigger than that.
Yeah,
it is. And like you were saying, the Flash is definitely the most difficult topic for what's going on right now, due to it should have been canceled because of everything going on. So what do you think we could see in the Flash that is so important that they are really pushing it to be released, besides, money?
Well, I think part of it is it's an interesting story. It's based off of the Flashpoint story, right? And you've got Michael Keaton's Batman coming back, which is huge. That's
and they can't cancel Michael Keaton out of 2 movies.
No, they can't do that.
But you also have this new Supergirl that's been rumored to have been canceled as well.
Yeah, in the movie. But that's a lot less.
Let's step back. That's been rumored to be canceled. It's not canceled.
No.
And the biggest thing about that is, what are they going to do with that character going forward? They can make that character a compelling character.
Very much so.
And so create a great storyline around that character, make it multiverse tied in or something like that. And let that be part of the DCEU with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot and some version of Flash. And Zachary Levi and Dwayne Johnson. I mean, think about the star power.
Yeah, they have a lot.
They have there. Bring in somebody to guide it. Get some good, coherent storytelling done. Calm down on the drama on the releases of these things. Let the filmmakers make the movies and go forward.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what they do next. I think I've probably said about 15 different dad moments that weren't official, but let's go ahead and do a dad moment.
I am your father.
So when the initial wave of information started to hit social media last week, it seemed as if some crazy decisions were being made by the new leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery. But the more the information started to come out, the more it seemed that something very different was taking shape. There were lots of conflicting reports and opinions going around, but something just seemed off. And so we were talking about it, and we sat down and kind of concluded pretty early on that it felt like WBD was sort of burning the house down in order to rebuild it again, and that we needed to wait and see what was really going on. And then as the earnings call happened and things, it seems like that's exactly what that was all about. There's an ancient proverb that says, the one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him. So as we should do with any of these rumors or any of these things as they're happening in real time, we need to take some time to step back, consider that there's more going on than we may be able to see, and then wait for all sides to speak up. And that's the wise way to handle most situations, even when it comes to the DCEU.
Yep.
So. Yes. And as a DC fan, I am excited for the future. I was actually thinking last night about how cool it would be if in 10 years I walked into a DC movie with the same hype I felt with Endgame.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an uncertain time as a DC fan, but very exciting.
Very, very cool. Good job, BB Nate.
Good segment.
It was a hard segment to navigate, and you did a great job in helping me navigate it. So thank you. All right. So last week I tricked the Suns on, is it canon? Can I make it 2 weeks in a row? Let's find out.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right. Again, here's how this segment works. I give a description of something I found on Wikipedia, and then you guys make an argument for whether you think it's canon or legends and why.
Did you use the random article button again?
I did. I had to click it a few times to find something that wasn't like an author or, a crew
something
member
obvious.
or something like that. Yeah. Or And one was like Bounty Hunters issue 28, you know. We know that, right? Okay. So anyway, here we go. The Rigel system. This Rigel system was a star system of the Chiss Ascendancy in the unknown regions. It was the home to a star orbited by the planet Rygar, a stronghold of the Klar family, and the location of their homestead, as well as the asteroid field known as the Junkyard. Canon or legends? I'll start with you, BB Nate.
I don't know enough about Thrawn's canon books to say that I'm an expert. I only have read the first two in the first trilogy that came out. I haven't even read Thrawn Ascendancy, any of them. But I feel like this is way too... I feel like it's a bait. I feel like you're wanting me to think it's canon because it's like, oh, it's Thrawn. There's the Thrawn Ascendancy book, so it feels like it would work. But then again, I'm not 100% sure. But the thing, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, well, what do you think, Sam?
I'm gonna say it is canon, and it is tough. I'm just kind of flipping a coin, but I guess my mindset on it would be, yeah, there's the whole Heir to the Empire storyline that happens where Thrawn was introduced and all that. But those stories don't follow Thrawn himself, right? It follows...
They do follow Thrawn.
Well, yeah, but it's about Luke and Han and Leia, and they're the main characters of the story. Thrawn just happens to be the villain.
No, Thrawn is the ultimate bad guy in that.
No, I understand that, but so is Darth Vader and the Emperor in Star Wars. Okay. I think this is a detail that would be more suited to be revealed for a main character such as Thrawn in his own titular books. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess canon.
You're going to guess it's canon?
I'm guessing canon.
And you're going to guess...
Legends, yeah.
Legends.
Because, I mean, going back, Heir to the Empire... I listened to a lot of the first book in audiobook form, and there's so much unnecessary stuff in that book about the characters.
You're right.
I feel like this could be...
I mean, that's why I was saying it's kind of a flip of a coin. But
so I feel like this could be a Legends, because there's so much in Heir to the Empire that it would work.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
The whole trilogy of books.
Here's what's fun about this. You are both right and you are both wrong.
And what's funny is this was our first split decision too.
With it originally was created in Legends, Star Wars, the Essential Atlas Online Companion on StarWars.com.
So it wasn't even
as well as Star Wars Gamer Icon, and Essential Atlas and things like that. And then it was fully integrated into the story in Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil, with its first appearance, simultaneous in the audiobook.
So I was right.
You were both right.
I was first right though.
But it wasn't in Heir to the Empire or any of those books.
I didn't say it had to be in Heir to the Empire.
Yeah, that's.
I just got lucky.
It was interesting because that one came up, and I looked, and I was like, it was one of those tabs on Wikipedia that has canon and legends, and I'm like, ooh, I hope I can make this work because that'll be fun with it. All right,
cool,
very cool. It's kind of this is a fun segment.
Yeah, I like it.
It helps us talk about stuff that we would normally have a conversation
right, and gets us thinking and stuff. Yeah.
All right, so why don't we talk about something we should have talked about weeks ago, but we haven't had a chance to yet. So.
Yeah. We, like you said, we haven't talked Ms. Marvel much at all since the series has been running or whatever. But the finale dropped one line at the end there that could change the future of the MCU. We'll talk about the implications of this, and we'll give our theories as to where Marvel could go from here.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
Your coming to us is as the footsteps of do's.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
So since we really haven't had a chance to talk about this series since it ended, I want to get y'all's just overall opinion on the series.
This is good.
Now that it's concluded. Nate, you go first.
I go first? Why
Yes.
why doesn't Dad go first?
It's your birthday.
But I don't want to go first. Okay. No,
Happy birthday.
I
Go
honestly,
first.
I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was dragging a lot in the first 3 episodes, and that's where we dropped off because we just kind of lost faith. I mean, that's halfway through.
Not lost faith. We just got super swamped.
Yeah,
with life,
and also that's halfway through the season, and nothing really happened at that point. But from then on, it did get really good, and I did like the ending, and I liked the entire show was a lot of fun, and that's it. It definitely exceeded my expectations as I was going into it. I was expecting different going into it, and I came out enjoying what I saw. So
Dad,
we said it from the very beginning of the show because we did some episodes early on. We talked a little bit about early on. We were not the demographic that this show was created for. We are not people living in big cities with, high school, drama life, that kind of thing that goes on with it. It just wasn't our demographic. And so it was harder for us to get into as a result. Plus they were taking too long, I think, to develop who the bad guy was. The antagonist was a challenge. We talked about that too. But once they got all of that set up and we knew who the bad guys were, that last half of this series was fantastic.
Yeah, it was
I
really
enjoyed it a lot. What did you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely was a pleasant surprise at the end. I was pretty apprehensive going into it. Even from the trailers, I was pretty iffy, and we were all on the same page. At the beginning, it was kind of like, okay, it's fine. But at the end, she became a really interesting character. I think even though the powers are different than the comics, I really like them. I think they're cool. I think she'll be a great addition to the MCU going forward.
Agreed.
So yeah, I'm excited for it. But getting to today's topic, the line that has everybody talking is Bruno is talking to Kamala, and he's like, the reason why you have these powers is you have this certain mutation, right? He says mutation, and then a little snippet of the X-Men 90s theme plays.
That was when it was like we perked up big time.
And then they move on from it, and they don't say another word, and it's just like, you just kind of leaves you like wanting more. But this is important because this sets up they're bringing more and more mutant stuff, little references to mutant stuff here and there. So if Marvel decides to start bringing in the X-Men or the mutants storyline and stuff, where do you think they bring this in? What upcoming projects or characters could they use to bring this new concept of mutants into the MCU in the future? Nate?
I don't know. That's a difficult place. I think that we could maybe see something in She-Hulk just that could start it, judging how she's a superhero lawyer in and of itself, and that could start the whole mutant cases that come out of that and all that stuff. But Namor, definitely a big one from Wakanda Forever.
I looked that up. I wasn't sure if he was just an Atlantean or something, but he is a mutant.
He's a mutation.
He's considered a mutant in the comics.
Okay. Yeah. He is a mutant. So that's a big deal.
So there he is. I mean, that's where it's happening then.
It's just all a matter of, do they explicitly say in the movie he's a mutant? Because if so, that is our first X-Men.
I do think that the natural place for them to take this thing forward is in the Marvels movie. I'm trying to remember. It's been delayed, I know, but
it's I think to 2023 or 4.
It's in 2023. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure when in 2023.
Yeah, I can't remember.
End of it, I think.
But since if they're going to make Kamala that a mutation, and that's where they're going with it, then you could be bringing in some mutants into that as well.
Interesting. So. Okay. But do you think that this is an indication that we'll be seeing the X-Men and familiar faces that we've grown to know from the stories? So you think we're going to get those characters coming up in the future? When do you think they would bring that in? Because Marvel's full right now. They've got a busy schedule. So what do you think they do?
Has a very high likelihood of bringing them in. If that feels like a big movie for the next, because that's starting out Phase 5. Maybe Secret Invasion. It could possibly happen in that. I don't know. What
do you think they're going to do with the new X-Men animated series that's coming out?
I don't know. Maybe they could tell stories for the characters that are coming up, because this is the X-Men 97 show. That's what it's titled. The new one is taking place right after the regular show, the original show. It's picking right up. So who knows? It's probably just like Spider-Man freshman year as another Earth, but it's going to be very cool to see that. But it is a little telling how they used the theme in this,
right? And they used it when Professor X came out in Multiverse of Madness. So
too. I don't know. We'll see something. I feel like Deadpool 3 is a fantastic place to get this started. That's where it's going to probably. Yeah, he's filming it right now. He posted stuff from it.
I thought that was a rumor.
No. It's Kevin Feige said that he wanted it to be as big as Civil War and Ragnarok.
Wow.
For this stuff.
How did I miss that? I totally missed that news cycle. I'm completely over my head.
Lost in Warner Brothers.
You got a girlfriend. So I would say this. I think the most natural way for them to bring this in is Loki, because Loki directly is dealing with multiverses now.
Yeah.
And so you've got this multiverse thing happening. They teased it obviously in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. They brought the multiverses in on that. Anything that's multiverse driven is going to open up the door for a completely different universe.
That's the big deal with Quantumania then.
Yeah.
Because that deals with the multiverse.
Right. And it's Kang.
Right, and Kang and timelines.
I feel like that's a great place to...
So Loki, and then close out phase 4 with Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, which is what they said they're doing.
No, they're
starting
phase 5 with Quantumania. So that'd be a great place to introduce the X-Men.
Well, I think that you may see that get more introduced in Loki season 2 and then fully brought in Quantumania.
Yeah, I think that's
Loki season 2's after.
I don't know when things are anymore. I've slept since then. So.
Well, regardless, those two things could set it up. But now this poses an interesting question, though, because in the comics, it's well known that Kamala Khan gets her powers from the Terrigen Mist and makes her become an Inhuman, right? And in the comics, the Inhumans and the X-Men are kind of at odds with each other. The Inhumans are like, no, we don't want to be considered mutants, but sometimes
because they're sort of artificially created.
Yeah,
mutants.
But sometimes the larger population says, well, you've got mutated genes, so you're a mutant. So it's this kind of like. But I mean, in the articles that you sent me and that I read for this series, the X-Men's been used for pretty interesting storylines, and very, I guess, kind of political storylines if you think about it. I mean, the whole like. In the original, we watched the original X-Men movie a few months ago, and I forgot how like complex the story is, and the whole.
It's really complex, and political.
Yes,
and deep.
So X-Men's always been used for that, and the whole Inhumans versus X-Men, where it's
racial
like
tension.
Yeah, it's like you can't just all lump us all together because we're different. It's a really interesting storyline, but it seems like they're kind of cutting that out by saying Kamala's a mutant.
No, I think they actually could be bringing that in because the Terrigen Mist or whatever created that could. Well, no, but it's hard because it's genetic,
right?
In Miss Marvel.
Well, and it is in the comics, at least I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I remember reading. It's just instead of being born with mutated genes like a mutant, the Terrigen Mist mutates your genes and you gain powers as a result of it.
But in Miss Marvel, it was her grandmother had the...
Right. So I think she would be considered more of a mutant.
Yes.
Because she was born with these different set of genes.
It is interesting how they're going to do that. The comic books allow for really, that's one of the things that BB Nate likes so much about comic books is it allows for you to like do long form storytelling that takes place over multiple months, multiple years, multiple storylines, multiple properties. And you don't get that as much in 2.5 hour movies, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. And with some series thrown in, it's just not as easy to do it. And so I think that it'll be interesting to see how they move that.
Yeah.
forward.
I read a theory someone had of how they could handle this, and they were almost saying they could just use in the MCU, what they could do is they could just use the terms interchangeably, where an Inhuman and a mutant are basically the same thing. You just use the terms differently. But I don't think that's a good idea, just because they're so different in the comics, and it takes away one of the main like conflicts that they can have. I feel like it would cheapen the storyline if they decided to go that route.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's why I'm saying it's going to be an interesting thing to see how they handle it.
Yeah, I mean. So does that mean that they're cutting out the Inhuman show?
Yes.
Was it ever, well, I mean, yeah, the question is,
they have, yeah.
yeah,
They
but
have to.
how do they handle Black Bolt? You know,
just have his actor. I don't think that's a problem.
It's a variant.
Well,
There's no problem there.
Yeah, that's fine. The actor's fine, but how do they handle his character? Because you make him not an Inhuman, and that's a big deal. Because he's the leader of the Inhumans.
They'll keep him an Inhuman. He might be the one to introduce it. But I mean, there's not really much that's complicated with that character to bring him in. You just bring him in, and then you can create Inhumans off of that, because he is such an important deal to the Inhumans. So I feel like there isn't much complication with that character.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see Lockjaw.
The giant teleporting bulldog.
Yep.
Yeah. So now that there's this story, you know, or this concept, right, that the Bangle or whatever could have activated Kamala's genes or whatever, right? That's kind of where the mindset is, that she's a mutant and just activated her genes. Do they go back and retcon certain characters in the MCU to say that they were mutants all along? For instance, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. You know, they were in these certain like notes or whatever that you found. It was an in-universe like kind of extra, you know, book or whatever. The scientists in Sokovia were interested in that area because lots of people had certain genetic traits that were interesting.
I didn't realize that.
So that's partially why they picked Wanda and Pietro. So I mean,
by the way, Aaron Taylor Johnson is fantastic in Bullet Train.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was one of the standout characters for sure.
Tangerine.
But
yeah,
we have to, this is possible because mutants are a thing. Even if you watch the original X-Men movie, mutants have been the thing for a long time.
Right.
But they didn't start developing powers until pretty recently before that, because the powers started to get noticed and more later. And while some people had them, some genes were kind of suppressed and dormant until later on. Like Rogue. Take Rogue, for example. She didn't start to get them until she was 16 or 17. So it's very possible that these powers just could have been awoken from an Infinity Stone or experiment or something like that.
I think that, you know, the snap could have been, I know that's one theory that's been out for a while.
We threw around that theory a long time ago.
Could have, you know, people coming back in, that could have, the amount of energy required to obliterate half of of all life in the galaxy, in the universe, and then bring that back could easily have begun to trigger genes.
Of course.
People.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think if they go this route and they explain that these characters that we had seen previously have always been mutants and that their just powers are activated by this stuff, do you think that cheapens the story of these characters and or mutants in general?
I don't. I think that would make it more interesting. Go back and watch, like, okay, these people had powers all along. They just couldn't access them. I think it would make it interesting for the characters later on too. You could take I don't remember her name. Photon, for an example.
Oh, yeah, Monica Rambeau. Yeah.
She could be a mutant, but her passing through the barrier activated her genes. It's a very possible thing. She could be technically an Inhuman due to the barrier. That was an experiment that caused her to become an Inhuman. So there's a lot that can happen here. That's why I said Secret Invasion could be a good one to introduce.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Bruno is a high school student that's really, really smart, but we need to be very careful about like creating an entire
Marvel.
An entire idea of this is how the mutants and the Inhumans work off of a throwaway statement and some music at the end of an episode from a high school student.
But I think the fact that they decided to put in that theme is significant. You don't put that in there
without a doubt. He said mutant. They played that music. It matters, but that doesn't mean that he's right about the assumptions that we're making. What he said.
Yeah, no.
That's fair. They could be kind of doing a little misleading with it. Yeah.
Oh wait, Marvel, Kevin Feige.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Doing any kind of misdirection? No, that's never.
It's not like they did that with Quicksilver in the WandaVision show. Still salty about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They need to retcon that if they're going to retcon anything.
Right. So,
but you know, with the future of Marvel looking pretty full, it's tough to see where they could bring in the mutants in the near future. But all signs point to a strong possibility of seeing some of our favorite characters show up very soon.
Absolutely.
Good segment.
Good segment. Good job.
Appreciate it.
You catch your breath, BB Nate? You ready to do another segment? There we go.
Let's go.
This weekend sucks for new movie releases.
Yeah.
Coming up, and there weren't any great trailers before we recorded either. So it's a good thing E.T. is going to be back in the theaters. I won't get a chance to watch that. BB Nate. I typed it wrong. It says BB Bait. BB Bait.
Man, we could have used that for our clickbait segment or something.
BB Bait. Clickbait with BB Bait. Oh, jeez.
Missed opportunities.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he's going to talk all about it next on Movie Moments.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge.
This one is a no. I don't think I can handle
Don't even
it.
tell us what the movie is. You're just like, no.
No, it's Fall. And Sammy, I know, can't handle this. That is about best friends Becky and Hunter find themselves at the top of a 2,000-foot radio tower.
How do you find yourself
I don't know. I haven't watched the trailer specifically because I don't think I can handle it. But
you don't just show up at the top of a 2,000-foot tall tower. It doesn't just happen
The director
accidentally.
is Scott Mann. The cast is Grace Caroline Curry, Virginia Gardner, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Hey, it's Batman's daddy. The studio is Lionsgate. It is rated PG-13 for bloody images, intense peril, and strong language. Going yes or no. I don't think I can handle it, but in some ways I'm intrigued by it.
I'm
because
intrigued
I'm like,
by
okay,
it.
it's
Nope.
an interesting concept.
Nope.
I just don't think that I could.
It's like Gravity, but on a tall tower.
Yeah, with gravity. It's gravity.
It's gravity with actual gravity this time.
Gravity.
This next one, bodies. Yeah.
Bodies. 3
Original
times.
and very creative title. When a group of rich
20s. I just want to say this. The one before this that's not the horror movie, before we started in, Nate's like, no, this one is the horror movie, and he didn't do that with this one.
No. When a group of rich 20-somethings plan a hurricane party at a remote family mansion,
Hurricane
a
party. Get together while hurricanes going on and just kind of wait it out together.
That's an actual thing.
Oh, big time.
Oh, yeah, huge.
A
party
I guess
game.
It's a whole eat, drink, and be merry concept.
Tomorrow you may die.
Yeah.
Well, a party game goes awry in this fresh and funny look at backstabbing fake friends and one party gone very.
So you're
very
telling
wrong.
me they were playing like apples to apples, and it just
I
got a
think that
little
was the
bit,
game they're playing.
a little bit too.
Not sure that's the game.
The director is Helena Rain, whatever it is. Cast is
Amanda. I spelled it wrong.
Amanda Stenberg. Okay, Maria
Amanda.
Baklava and Rachel Sennett. Studios A24 makes sense. It is rated R for violence, bloody images, drug use, sexual references, pervasive language. Going no.
No, we're not going. But
no,
This is not our.
Like I said,
Not our
weekend sucks. But we are going to go see in a couple of days. We're going to go see E.T. in IMAX. BB Nate
for the
has
first time.
never had the chance to finish
E.T.
E.T. And we did go to the movies a couple of times this week. So what did we see? We've seen 3 movies since we recorded last, didn't we?
We
saw
Minions.
The Minions Rise
Yep.
of Gru. On this just one sentence.
Yeah, it was about what I expected. It was fun.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Minions.
It was a Minions movie. You know,
DC League of Super Pets. BB Nate.
Very surprised. Really enjoyed it. That was really good.
yeah, same. I mean, I went into it with mediocre expectations, and it well exceeded them. It was honestly just a lot of fun.
There was a scene that something happened. I laughed, got so tickled. I had church laughs for about 10 minutes. I just kept
All 3 of us.
I was crying.
It was really good.
It was really good.
was
Worth
really
a
good.
watch. If you've got
Absolutely.
time, go down to the theater and
And
watch
then
it.
last night we saw Bullet Train. BB
Yep.
Nate, this is the one you were like really excited about.
Yeah.
So tell us what you thought about
I
it.
thought it was a great movie. I enjoyed every second of it. I thought that the story was surprisingly well thought out and fun.
Yeah.
The characters well fleshed out. I enjoyed every single character and I thought they were all great. I thought that the action sequences, while very violent,
Unbelievably gory.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
were really well done action sequences, especially the final fight scenes at the end with the Elder. Was
It
really
was
well done, but it was violent.
Bloody.
Very.
Bloody. Anyway, Sam.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it was what you were expecting to get from the trailer. It was funny. It was action packed. It had that weird, almost fourth wall ish breaking kind of humor. You know, it was fun. It was entertaining for a couple hours. And, you know, if they decided to make more in a series with this universe and some of these characters, I'd go back and watch them.
I would say that this was more than what I expected from the trailers. Everything that I expected in the trailers, the fun, the weird, you know, battles, fight sequences that were like choreographed and beautiful in the way that they were choreographed.
Yeah.
The, you know, the great, you know, Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt.
Oh, his character was so much fun
on this. All of that, everything I expected. The characters and the storyline were so much better. It worked.
That's true.
You just, you know, I've seen the critics' reviews, and my gut, just pulling back the curtain a little bit here, I'm almost certain that most reviewers of this movie are getting screeners.
Really?
Yeah.
And so this is not the kind of movie you can really watch while you're working on something else or sitting at home on your phone. You have to be in there. There's nuance. You got to let things, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Very fun.
Disclaimer.
Yes.
You can handle the fact that this is probably one of the most violent movies I've ever seen in my life.
Not true. Not true. Not even close to true.
What?
I can give you one more.
Hacksaw Ridge?
Yes.
Okay.
That is
Outside of Hacksaw
confirmed
Ridge
to be the most violent movie in the past decade.
Outside of Hacksaw Ridge, the most violent movie that I've ever seen in my life, and about 90 F-bombs.
Yeah, it's a
lot more.
It more than that.
Okay, and more words than that, but 90 F-bombs. So if you can deal with that and you're going to, you can handle that, Bullet Train is a fun movie.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
All right.
For trailers-ish, we got one kind of trailer.
It was more
maybe.
it was like a teaser for a teaser almost. Like,
Yeah, I'm waiting for something else. Joker, I'm going to try to do this justice.
French.
Folie à deux or something. I don't know. It translates to madness for two.
Yeah.
Madness for two? Is that what it
Yes.
means?
Is what it translates to.
Wait, folly. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Interesting.
So I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's a musical, which is.
Yeah. Tristan and I were talking about that. He texted
I actually am really intrigued by this.
I'm intrigued.
As we talked about this, you've got Lady Gaga, who's an amazing actress and an amazing singer, so I'm totally cool with that.
You got Joaquin Phoenix, who's an amazing actor. Don't know about his
this character. Nailed
He
this.
doesn't have to be a good singer. He could just be crazy.
You've got Michael Uslan sharing it, which I have all the respect in the world for Michael Uslan when it comes to him endorsing anything DC related.
Exactly.
And the concept that we talked about of this being set primarily at Arkham and Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn and Harley Quinn being his psychiatrist and her getting twisted by him through that process. That is a really intriguing thing. If the madness piece, if the musical elements of this is exploring his madness, that could be really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting that new Spotify podcast telling the story of Joker and Harley Quinn from the point of view of Harleen Quinzel before she as a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Is that set in this universe?
No.
But
It's just
still,
its own
it's a
one.
cool
But it'll
story.
give us a little bit of an indication. For box office predictions, because we're recording this early. Bullet Train, 32 million domestic. It's fine. I don't think it was that
for an
high
art movie.
budget
That's not
movie.
terrible.
I don't think it was that high budget as well. But DC League of Super Pets, 12 million domestic, and Nope, 10 million. So it's not terrible. DC League of Super Pets is actually still doing better than I thought it would be, and it's this weekend. But I don't know. I think it was good.
We'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Dad.
Thanks. Yeah. Star Wars fans woke up a week ago very excited to get the full trailer for the new Andor series. But the biggest surprise in the trailer came at the very end. Patience.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Oh my gosh. I have comics.
I know you bought like a $5,000 worth or something yesterday. It felt like it was like a stack, wasn't
Like
it? $30. It feels like, well, in comic money, that's a lot of comics.
That's I think I had like six
or 7 comics.
Goodness.
Yeah. And so I finished Shadow of the Sith.
Any good?
It's good. makes me want to watch Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would.
That's good.
I'm going to get there eventually.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well,
and I haven't even picked it up.
well, I mean, there's a hard copy version of it sitting in the other room. So. All right. Let's talk about this Andor trailer. The first thing, before we kind of dive into a recap of everything going on, I left a whole segment in here that was from before, wasn't it? Okay, good. All right, and I was totally confused. All right, what did you think about the trailer? Let's start with you, BB Nate.
Terrible.
No, stop it.
Gosh, I hated it. Every second. It was just weird. No, honestly, the one thing that stood out to me, let alone from the excitement of this show coming out, is how absolutely visually stunning and the cinematography in this show is probably the best we've gotten out of Star Wars. There are so many moments that just feel so cinematic. I know, I just said
that's the right word,
but it is just the only way to describe it is cinematic. And I mean, just from the first shot of the trailer, you just feel it. I mean, you feel what they're wanting you to feel.
Just feels
Star Destroyer.
You feel
overhead.
It feels big. You also just feel this. It's gloomy. It's gray. It's dark. You can tell these people are intimidated and just terrified. And you
feel
get
the
that
weight of the Empire.
Without any dialogue, you could just see it, and it's beautiful. And then the final shot in the trailer where that giant battle is crashing looks like something from Force Unleashed. It was so cool. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
Shmooly.
I think it looks awesome. I think, visuals aside, the story looks so interesting. It's something we got a little bit of in Rogue One, but Rogue One was more of a war film. This is your political,
espionage.
Yeah, political side of things. You got your spy stuff. You got rebellion and this insurgency within the Empire and things like that. It's got such an intriguing storyline, and we're gonna see concepts that we haven't gotten enough of in Star Wars yet. And I think having the guy who worked on the Bourne movies is perfect for the Andor side of things. Obviously, Andor is going to be the more spy side, but you've got the whole Mon Mothma stuff, which, I'll be honest, I was on the fence about. I'm like, I'm not sure I'll get into that just because it's politics, but it looks really, really interesting. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I love the trailer. I think it's fantastic. I think that you get a real feel for how oppressed the galaxy is.
Yeah.
Under this, the smugness of the Empire, those two officers, just smugness.
I heard spudness.
Smugness.
That makes more sense.
You're drinking the calf and just kind of looking down their noses. You've got a lot of Imperial Security Bureau, ISB, with the white coats on this, and so that creates a whole new story. Those haven't been portrayed in live action at all, really, except
Not
for
much,
outside of Krennic,
right?
With this, which, by the way, there's the real legitimate possibility that we get some Krennic in this.
That's true.
Point.
You think we get any more DH Tarkin maybe a little bit too?
I don't know. I do know this. Our good friend, not really good friend, we love him,
great friend.
I think he will still remember us, but you hear him every single week as we end our episode with his Ben Kenobi wishing you may the force be with you. But Stephen Stanton is tweeting stuff about this constantly, which leads me to believe that General Radis is going to be a part of this story.
That'd be so cool.
With it, which I'm excited about it. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the big takeaways. First one, obviously, is that Andor's delayed. It was supposed to come out August 31st. We woke up to get ready to see these trailers and everything else and thinking we were in the month of Andor. They were calling it Andor August. And suddenly it was like, what are we calling it now? And so it's like Cassian September or September or something, with this delayed till September 21st, but it will release with 3 episodes instead of 2 episodes. Now, speculation about it. Literally, it's like, I feel like we need to take out of school. Like, you're sick and I'm going to take off of work and we're just going to watch 3 episodes of this. I'm not kidding.
Watch 3 episodes of it and then watch those 3 episodes again again.
And then maybe watch Rogue One. Here's what was happening with the schedule of this. It looks like it was going to be going up directly against some She-Hulk stuff. Now they've changed the date of the day of the week that She-Hulk is released on now.
Yeah, it's Thursdays
They've
now,
delayed
right?
it to Thursdays now, which is different. But it's going up against the new HBO series, the prequel for Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, and the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, on Amazon Prime. So
Yep.
do you guys think that this is why this was delayed? We'll start with you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it makes the most sense. They want this series to do the best it can. And while I'm sure they're not really all that worried about it going up against something that's their own IP, like She-Hulk, the fact that there's two other major series running at that time would heavily draw from it. At least for, I mean, it would for us. Rings of Power is something we're definitely going to have to watch. And then with, you know, that's
we're going to watch She-Hulk too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with Matt Murdock in it.
Right. But us watching Rings of Power draws from Disney's money. You know, it's not giving money to them, so they don't want that. So I definitely think that makes sense as to why they would delay it. And they gave us more by saying, here, you get 3 episodes now. You know,
of a 12-episode season.
It's kind of like
a quarter of the season.
Right. I can't be all that sad. They gave us more. It bums me out that we're going to have to wait a little longer, but we got so much stuff before then.
In the meantime, we definitely do. I do think this is part of the reason why it was delayed. I couldn't think of anything else of why it could be. I don't think there's any,
unless there's like production issues.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's too close for there really to be production issues. It would have to be starting to roll out now, and I don't think.
Well, people have already seen for the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, so
screeners have gone out.
So I think that I think it's just because they were worried about all the competition. I think that they are really scared about Rings of Power, and they should be. People are excited for it. Smart people are excited.
And people are going to be scared of House of Dragon.
Oh, House of the Dragon is going to be big too.
With it now, the converse side of this, though, the other end of this is that it now is in a lot of conflict with the Bad Batch season 2. It's going to be running up right alongside on this.
That's some good Star Wars stuff, though.
Yeah. Do you guys think that the Bad Batch season 2 is going to get delayed now?
No, I don't see a reason really. I think that Andor is going to be big, and I don't think that they'll see a hit in the animated stuff because not everybody that watches live action watches the animated stuff. So people who are excited about the animated shows are still going to watch the animated shows. Who knows? They might put Bad Batch season 2 on Wednesday and Andor on Thursday.
That's true. Yeah, like Nathan said, the people who are going to watch the animation are going to already watch Andor anyway. So it's not like it's really going to draw from one or the other. The only thing that'll happen is it'll delay the people who do watch the animation from watching it right away. You know, like us, we may not be able to get to the Bad Batch because chances are we're probably going to prioritize Andor over the Bad Batch, but we're going to go back and watch the Bad Batch eventually anyway.
Every week.
Right.
Yes.
So while it may not be on release day, we're still going to watch it. So I don't think it's going to hurt that bad.
Do you think that there is something that happens in Andor that ties into the Bad Batch and they're going to release those together as a result? Maybe that's what the timing of this is about?
I don't know. Maybe it's possible, but I feel like that could just be unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I feel like we've speculated that before with certain things. I can't remember what off the top of my head, and it never really panned out. So
Tony Gilroy came out and said that they aren't filming using the volume. They are using practical sets for everything. What do you think about it? Nate, you talked about this, but how do you feel about the look of the series and specifically not using the volume? Do you feel like it makes a big difference?
I think the volume itself is a genius thing, but there is something else about practical that just feels more real. I mean, if you're trying to make worlds that we haven't seen before and is difficult to recreate, then the volume is great. But he understands what we're doing with this. He helped with Rogue One, so he kind of gets this whole vibe and what they're going for. So I think that it's completely fine not using the volume, and it looks great. It'll be. I think it helps with the visual effects as well. They don't have as much to do. They can focus a little bit more on the CGI. But I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I think traditional filmmaking is always going to have its place. There's a reason why it's existed for so long and it's worked so well.
Because it's all they had?
Well, yeah, but, but I mean, I'm just saying that it has you can't beat the real thing. It's like Jurassic Park. You've got the animatronic dinosaurs and you got CGI dinosaurs, and you can clearly tell which one's which and which one looks better. And it's the animatronic because it's physical, right? The volume is fantastic. And frankly, if they didn't tell me that a lot of the shots that they filmed were in the volume, I would have never known. But I think they want this series to have a big feel. A lot of the shots are wide shots. They're outside. They've got a big feel to it. Very cinematic, like Nathan said. And I think it's harder to capture that dynamic in something like Volume.
It needs to feel like Rogue One, and Rogue One wasn't filmed in the volume. Plus, they aren't required to film in the volume. The reason the volume was so impactful for so many different productions and had to be used in so many different productions was because of COVID and the pandemic. We know it was created earlier than that for Mandalorian season 1. Right. But a lot of the volume stuff has been created for, or been stuff that's been filmed in the volume was because of the pandemic. They don't have to do that. If they can stay in a certain world for long enough, they aren't changing planet to planet every season like we do with the Mandalorian and things like that, then you can do this and make it work. I think it works great.
Yeah, that's fair.
We get our first look at Cassian as a child on his home planet of Fest.
Interesting.
He's wearing some serious rags and very ill-fitting clothes, things that doesn't look like that's what his clothing is. He's sneaking into an Imperial facility in that, so that was an interesting thing. Then we also see a lot of Ferrix, which is another planet. People are comparing it to Braca. I'm getting a lot of vibes from that. And then we get some really cool shots of returning to Coruscant, and it's so cool the way that they're flying through Coruscant like it's filmed with a drone. Obviously, it's all CG,
right? But
it's like they're flying through with a drone because that's what we're used to seeing with our eyes now in filmmaking on that. Where do you think most of this series is going to take place?
I mean, we're going to see a lot on Coruscant with Mon Mothma's storyline. I don't really foresee her going off planet much, and I'm not sure we see much of like Yavin 4 yet. I don't think we're at that point in the rebellion.
No, Yavin 4 happens in season 3 of Rebels, season 4 of Rebels.
Oh yes, yeah. No, you're right, man. We need to rewatch that show.
We say that every time we talk about Rebels. Literally, we say a statement about Rebels and then we say we got to rewatch that show.
So I think we see a lot of Coruscant with her in that. The other stuff, it's hard to say because the rebellion, especially at this point, tends to bounce around a lot unless you're the ghost.
Well, there is no clear rebellion.
Right,
It's just a bunch of different revolutionaries.
So we'll probably see Andor and Saw and I forget the new character.
Hera, no.
Ethan Rail.
Yeah, and his character bounce around from cell to cell, helping out, doing spy work, things like that. So it'll probably be all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, like what Sam said, it has to be all over the place. There's nothing else you can do with this type of series. You can't have it set on one place, especially for Cassian. Mon Mothma can stay on Coruscant. She might go off planet a little bit though. I wouldn't be surprised, but overall it has to move around.
I get the feeling that you're going to have Mon Mothma in one storyline, you're going to have Cassian in another storyline, and then you're going to have Luthen Rail, who seems to be the go-between. I think that what we're going to learn in this is Luthen Rail is the individual that brings the rebellion together, and then he's going to die because we don't see him in Rebels, we don't see him in Rogue One, we don't see him in A New Hope, obviously. So they're going to have to kill him off. He's going to sacrifice himself, but he's the one that's going to kind of bring everything together. We'll talk a little bit more about him because he's really a fascinating character. It's obvious he's a rebel leader in this, but then we see these scenes where he like puts on the Imperial facade. He's got this different hair style, the rings. He's in this antique thing. There's some Mandalorian armor in the back, and that's really cool.
I didn't see that.
With it, like antiquities and stuff like that. And then we see this moment where he interacts, or he at least enters the room with Mon Mothma. We know they know each other. But do you think that he and Mon Mothma know that they're on the same side?
I don't know. I don't think so. But again, we don't know enough about the character to know that. We don't know enough about anything. Really, this trailer didn't give us much on the plot side. It was still another teaser. That makes
it a good trailer.
And that, again, it makes it a good trailer. I mean, I would have liked a little bit more to know what I'm getting into, but I have a feeling they don't know they're on the same side, and that would add for some interesting plot storylines. But yeah, I don't know where it'll go with that.
I get bad vibes from his character. I think he's not.
You're just jaded.
Good, maybe, but I just feel like he's a bad guy for some reason. I just get that vibe. Maybe that's I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know if we're supposed to be getting that vibe, but something about
he does seem off.
Yeah, there's something more going on behind the scenes. I don't know if he's full on like Imperial, trying to like squash this rebellion, but there's something behind the scenes that's not good with him.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm excited about this character. I do think he's going to be fascinating.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of politics in this series. That is very clear. I know you referenced that a minute ago, Nate or Sam. We get to see the Galactic Senate. It's open once again and functioning.
With the Imperial symbol in the middle.
That was
cool.
pretty amazing with that. So you guys think that Crazy Uncle George is laughing at the criticisms of the prequels and the political stuff?
Because this is going to have good writing and dialogue.
Oh my God.
No. But I mean, one of the criticisms of The Phantom Menace is if you don't understand the title crawl, the rest of the politics of the movie makes zero sense. I still hardly understand what the politics of The Phantom Menace is. Trade routes, and it's like it's still confusing. Wow. Taxes. Like I don't think the politics in this storyline are going to be so
convoluted.
Right. It's not going to be like, ooh, they're taxing this trade route and that's where the conflict comes from. It's going to be okay, there are people within this group that do not support the larger group. There's going to be people
revolution,
who are right. That's the story. That's a lot easier to follow than this guy said he was going to pay X amount of money for this, but that didn't work out. So these guys are fighting now, and we got to handle it. It's not going to be all convoluted like that.
I think that we will be seeing a lot of politics, but I don't think that they will be as weird as Phantom Menace was. I don't think that George Lucas really cares.
No, you're right.
He's rolling in the dough.
He doesn't care. He doesn't even know.
He's like, oh, there's an Andor series?
Who's Andor?
Exactly. I think that he's just living his life. I think that people are going to definitely, if the politics are heavy in this show, start relating that to how Disney went back to the politics side and
they are going to
all that stuff, and people are just going to get frustrated about it.
I think it's
because everybody gets frustrated about something. But I think that I'm very excited to see the politics side of this because I think it'll be very good, especially with the director helming it. I think you'll add a very good little political thriller aspect to it rather than just a politics show like. I don't know, Designated Survivor or something.
The West Wing.
The West Wing.
Yes. Yeah.
That
we're not going to be getting
that would be very different. All right. Saw Gerrera.
Yes.
Is back.
That was cool.
Younger, still possessing all of his limbs, it looks like.
Yeah.
With that, not nearly as damaged.
Get that story in this show.
The closer to the Rebels era.
Before the Rebels era, too, though.
It looks a lot like him.
It's kind of between what we've seen. Are we going to see the ugly side of the rebellion in this? Because the book Rebel Rising is violent. And Saw Gerrera's partisans are terrorists.
Yeah, I think we'll see some of
it. They
it.
don't care if they kill innocents.
And that's that's going back to Hera. She is absolutely against using him in Rebels because of how violent he has become. And same with Mon Mothma. I'm sure that we will see in this series Mon Mothma get exposed to the ugly side of Saw Gerrera's rebellion. And that's what makes her not like him.
See, that's what I think we've got with Luthen Rael. I think Luthen Rael is going to be the guy. He's going to hear about this. He's going to be this guy in the middle that is tied into all of these different little insurgencies. And he's going to discover what's happening with Mon Mothma. He's going to know about Saw's partisans. He's going to find out about what the separatist uprising, with Andor is over here. And he's going to be the guy that's trying to bring this all together throughout the storyline. I don't think it's going to work with Saw because it doesn't with that. But I think that maybe here's a wild prediction, sure to go wrong way in advance. At some point, do we see Saw Gerrera kill Luthen Rael?
Maybe.
I could see it.
That would be a very Saw thing to do.
And it would help draw those lines between him and Mon Mothma. Yeah. It would set the precedent for his character and like his reputation and all that. Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to wait an extra 3 weeks for Andor, but after that trailer, I think it's going to be well worth that wait.
Yes, sir.
With that. All right, gentlemen, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, Rings of Power showrunner confirms Amazon passed on a young Aragorn show.
What do you think? Would you have liked that?
I would have. And I don't think that means that they can't go back to that in the future. I think they could totally bring that story out, and I think people would love it.
That's cool.
And it'd be cool because I really don't think there's much established canon for that.
No. John Boyega shuts down rumors he's joining Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's like basically, I'm kind of tired of being a part of these big franchises for a while.
So he's just in little smaller movies, which is good.
Cool. Star Wars Padawan novel is kind of a young Obi-Wan Kenobi story. Is a New York Times bestseller. Congratulations.
Nice.
This is actually a big deal because this is the first time a young adult age novel from Star Wars has made it to the New York Times bestseller.
That's awesome.
List. So I think it's the first time. That's what I think I read, but it is a big deal. So, all right.
Very cool.
That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pulp culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and the show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world. So like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and join our Facebook discussion group to get in on all the action going on outside of the show. And you can keep up to date with everything we've got going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast listening application.
Okay.
Might as well.
So old fashioned.
Appetizer.
Not appetizer. Very different. Anyway, we do want follow us. Okay. So you don't miss the next episode. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever podcast app you prefer. I don't think we've seen any of those come through lately. So I got to double check because I don't get the updates that I used to get. So I need to find out, but thank you guys if you have given us a review, and we'll keep looking for them. All right. Anything else you gentlemen would like to say?
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.